Hi, this is the old guy. This time I'm going to start this video by introducing a new tech scale that goes from why to take my kidney. This scale is made from scraps from the internet, just like Sony cameras are made from scraps from their old bodies. Both this scale and the Sony bodies work pretty well, but the difference is I'm not charging you to watch these videos, and Sony is pushing the prices a bit high on old tech. And this is where the title comes into play. Are working video makers and photographers still relevant in the YouTube space, reviewing gear? Only a few % of the working professionals can actually afford anything higher than a couple of grand. And for us to review these more expensive cameras, we have to rely on the camera manufacturers to lend us copies of these cameras. And the only ones that gets these cameras are actually not working professionals, but professional YouTubers. I hope you see where I'm going. Some of the YouTubers still stay relevant and do professional work combined with the YouTube stuff. But most actually quit that work to focus solely on YouTube. And that's the problem. When I'm approached by photographers, when I'm on assignments, it happens more than you know when they see me carrying a camera like the A7 IV, they start talking about their gear. And most of the time their gear are way more expensive than what I'm shooting on, and they're just mere hobbyists. And the A7 IV is kind of my limit for what I can spend on a camera. And that's right now where the cost is down to about 2 grand. I'm 80% a photographer and only a 20% video guy. And this is perfect for me. But if I was only doing photography, I would actually pick the A7 III, because this camera is just as good for photography as the A7 IV. In some areas actually better. The battery life is nearly twice as long as the A7 IV. Yes, you heard me right. I can do a whole wedding day on one battery on these A7 IIIs, but on the A7 IV I need at least 2. But for video, these are a bit of a pain in many occasions. So because I'm doing a bit of video, I need the A7 IVs, even though the A7 III is half the price. And actually I'm doing this talking head with the CVE10, and my top-down shot is made with this, a Canon M100. And this would be more than enough for me to shoot YouTube if it was given a mic port. But let's get these cameras out of the way again. Things that matter even more is accessories like these quick release plates and the lights and the digital hot shoe on my CVE10. That's totally underrated. And that leaves us back to the shot and the camera that addresses this problem and comes out with both the hot shoe and a price point that an average working professional like me can afford. Kinda, because 2200 is still a shitload of money. And as I told you before, you need new accessories and maybe new lenses when you buy a new camera from another brand. But this new camera addresses most of these costs. We're talking about the Nikon ZR, and even though I'm probably not gonna buy this camera right now, it sits right on top of my scale at, this is interesting, just below take my kidney. And because I got pretty capable cameras in the same price range that does everything I need, I would need a price drop or more video assignments to justify this camera. But for the overall market, this is the camera we need. And if I was starting out, I would probably get 2 of the A7 IIIs for photo and 2 of these ZRs for video. and I could shoot a bit of video with these if I needed the third angle, and I could shoot a bit of photos with the ZR if I needed a third camera body for photos. And if I did 80% video and only 20% photography, I would probably just get 2 of these ZRs. But as of right now, where I own 2 A7 IIIs and an A7 IV and an A7C, I can't justify the ZR at the current price point and its current state, as we're going to talk about now, because it's not quite yet matured. Ports and the port placement. They chose a micro HDMI because of the big 4-inch screen, and that's a valid choice. You can run this camera without using any of the ports. You don't need an external monitor because of the big screen. You can put a dummy battery inside your camera so it's not affecting the screen. And then we have the mounting points. But for my setup, I actually made a video about a rig where you only need a quick release like this one, where I call this an unmature camera, is in the software, because there's some things that would annoy me software-wise in this camera if I had to use it like this. And the biggest one is the limited metering tools for exposure. And here they're just one good tool away from making this camera work with this rig I just showed you. And the next most important thing for me is the recording options. Because the Sony is quite consistent with the log modes all over its file size options, even down to HD where it shoots 10-bit 4222 in the same log profiles. These 2 cons are the biggest cons for me, and the ones I would like to see solve before I would consider this camera. But when this camera drops to a $1,500 price, I'll probably get one. And let's go back to the chart. And sometimes you need something graphical to understand. Just to give a few more examples, we can take the Lumix S1 II. I think this, for me, sits right in the lower part of the "this is interesting." And the reason I'm saying this is I think this camera lacks direction. And the price is up there where it's still out of most working professionals' budget. And then the other new release, the Canon C50. This one I would place even lower, on the border between only fanboys and boring interesting, just because of its price point. For most working professionals, a new iteration of the R6 will be so much more useful. In this video I have addressed that most camera sales today are marketed by guys who don't shoot professional but are professional YouTubers that have higher budgets than working professionals, leaving most working professionals to buy used or wait to a newer iteration of a camera comes out and buy the older one. Kudos to Nikon for addressing the price of gear and what can be done with a lower cost release. Buy from the old guy.